puff up slightly. Hello and welcome to Sage and Stone Homestead. If you have not met me yet, my name is Heather and we're going to tackle something today that was intimidating to me for a very long time, and honestly for no good reason. So things like bagels and soft pretzels have this step where you need to boil them first before you bake them. And for some reason, this seemed like a giant hurdle in my mind. And if it seemed like a giant hurdle for you, I'm here to hold your hand and walk you through it and show you how it's really not a big deal to make bagels at home. I have had my sourdough starter going for a long time. This is probably, we're coming up on 2 years that I've managed to keep it alive. It doesn't have a name. I know that's a problem. So if you have suggestions for this beauty, I would love to hear it. But yeah, as you can see, we have clearly doubled. I will say that when your starter is good and active, you could actually make something like these bagels, or actually quite frequently make bread when the starter needs feeding. Because in theory, when you add the starter to all the rest of your ingredients and flour and things, that acts like a feeding. And in my experience, the bread or bagels rise just fine. Ideally, you want to use it when your starter looks like this. It has doubled in size and it's good and active. So we are going to be using the bagel recipe out of this book, Artisan Sourdough Made Simple by Emily Raffa. I love this book. Actually, it's quite worn and torn and full of crumbs and things because I've used it quite a lot. The bread recipe that I make most of the time, actually I made a loaf today, I'll show it to you. This guy, the honey whole wheat loaf. I make this a few times a week. It is wonderful. It is also in this book. I'll make sure to link it down below. And yeah, I'm actually going to be doubling this recipe as well. I've made this a couple of times before. I've never doubled it. We are a 6-person family and we've got some growing kids that want more than one bagel each. So as you might be able to tell, it is nighttime here. I'm starting this recipe the night before I want to eat it. And that's because this is going to be a slow ferment. This is going to ferment overnight, and a lot of sourdough recipes are like that. So this calls for 3/4 cup bubbly active starter. I am going to double it, so I'll do about 1.5 cups. You will notice that I am not very exact when it comes to baking. Baking is one of those things where they say you need to be exact. I don't know, I like to break rules sometimes. And we'll make sure we'll feed starter before I put it back. I just had a thought. Emil said we'll feed what's her face before we put her back. Should that be the starter's name? What's her face? I feel like that fits pretty well. Many times when a recipe calls for water, I will put milk in. We've got dairy goats and I always have a lot of excess milk or excess whey. And adding something like a dairy product will add a certain like springiness and body to your bread. So if you've got a lot of milk, feel free to use it. I do want this warm, so I'm going to nuke it for about 1.5 minutes. 2 tablespoons of sugar. I got these at a yard sale. I love the little canisters. Since I'm doubling it, I'm going to add in 4 tablespoons. This is a cute 1/8 cup measurement tool. 1/8 cup is 2 tablespoons. Y'all, I had some people over recently to purchase some goats, and I don't remember what I was doing. I might have poured coffee or something, but I totally poured it all over the counter. And I was like, see, you guys, I say it all the time. Make a mess or it doesn't count. And I'm constantly making messes all the time. I just did it. I just sloshed some of this over the bowl. I try not to sweat it. Messes are a part of life, so give yourself some grace. This here's my Danish whisk. I love it. I'm going to be putting 8 cups of flour in here. Remember, I am doubling the recipe. What I'm using is just bread flour, oxidant bread flour. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm 3 teaspoons salt. Now, if you are more inclined to want to weigh your ingredients, I'm going to list the entire recipe in the description box with the weights there, and so you can refer to that. Now, when the whisk gets too hard to move through the dough, I will switch to my hands. here is what the book says about this dough. Because the dough is stiff, consider using a stand mixer to give your hands a break. Run on low speed for 5 to 6 minutes to combine. When I have made this in the past, I have used my stand mixer. I can confirm that it is easier to bring this together with a mixer, but I want to show that it's not expressly necessary because I know not everybody has a stand mixer. So at first, the ingredients might be a little bit hard to incorporate. Do your best and then let it rest for about 45 minutes to an hour. Come back and then all of the flours and things will be rehydrated and it'll be a lot easier to work things in. So I'm going to leave it kind of slouchy like this for now and cover it, and I'll be back in 45 minutes. It'll be just 2 seconds for you. Okay. So I don't know if it's possible for you to tell on camera, but things are a lot smoother at this point and easier to work in. Got it worked into a smooth ball at this point. Just gonna put it right back in the bowl and let this ferment overnight. Good morning. Our dough is very well risen, as you can see. Again, this is a double batch, and so I need to break this up into 16 total pieces. It's pretty simple. I'm gonna turn this out on a non-floured work surface, and this is important. I'll show you why. I'm going to use my bench scraper to cut this in half, and then cut that piece in half, and then cut that piece in half until I have 16 total pieces. Now if I have one that seems a little bit heavier than maybe another one, I'll steal a little bit of dough from one, add it to the other, and I don't get super exact about this, but they're roughly the same size. This is where the non-floured work surface comes into play. We want to be able to use the table to help us give our dough some tension, because I'm going to be rolling these into little balls. So you see I have a little square here. It doesn't matter if it's a square or what shape it is, but I'm just going to be taking the sides of the ball and rolling it all into the center like this. Now I have been doing this a while, and so I kind of have muscle memory about it, but I'm taking the side, folding it in, and then turning it. Taking the side, folding it in, and then turning it. And then once I feel like I've got a good enough little ball, I'm going to be using the tension of the table to close up that bottom. So this is going to be something that you get by feel, but I've got a little bit of pressure that I'm putting down on the ball, and I'm just rolling it on the table. And you can feel that some of the dough is slightly sticking to the table as it's rolling around, and that's going to help close up the bottom. This is something that's just going to take practice. If you don't get it perfectly, it doesn't matter. But see, it's pretty closed up. And that's what we're looking for. 16 of these little balls. This one's triangular, doesn't matter. Go around. Close it up. Got this damp cloth that I'm going to lay over top, and they're not going to rise that much over the next 20 minutes. It'll be slight. If they happen to rise enough to slightly stick together, that will be okay. So I'm just going to leave them like this. Give them about 20 minutes. Okay, so the point of the rise that we just did was to relax the gluten so that when we make the holes in our bagels, they stay and they don't just completely shrink back down. So what I'm going to do is just kind of take my thumb and my forefinger like this on both sides and break a hole in the middle and just open it up like this. You want it to be pretty big because there is still going to be some measure of shrinkage. So maybe about the size of a ping pong ball. That's what I go for. You may end up sometimes with some thin spots. This is going to be okay. You can just kind of squish it back together. It might look a little bit ugly, but I promise it's going to taste good. Now I'll cover these up with a towel again and let these rest another 20 minutes. Okay, so here comes the part that was intimidating to me for the longest time. I've got some boiling water here. Right now it's simmering, but I do need to add the honey. This is probably optional. The honey part, I mean, the boiling, as far as I know, isn't really optional to get that bagel type texture, but the honey probably adds some kind of sweetness to it. It may have some kind of chemical reaction with the dough, I have no idea. But about a tablespoon in the water, that was more. And I'll give it a stir to incorporate. I'm going to bring this back up to a boil, and then this will surprise you how easy this step actually is. Because my pot is pretty sizable, I am going to do 3 bagels at a time and just drop them in. A lot of times they will sink to the bottom, especially if you don't have like a rolling boil going on. But we're just going to cook these like this, 30 seconds on each side. I have this little fork here that I'm going to use to flip them over with, and then we'll fish them out. And that's as easy as that step is. It was intimidating to me for no good reason. They do puff up slightly as they are boiling. I don't ever set a timer on these. I just sort of kind of flip it when it looks good. What they look like after they're boiled. You can kind of feel, it's almost like how like a pasta noodle would feel on the outside. Kind of slick and slippery. That's good. I'm just going to set these on the pan that they will bake on. And there's kind of a assembly line going on at this point. I'll be dropping some bagels in, and then after the ones that I just took out have a chance to cool a little but not dry out fully, I'm going to be dunking them in our topping. I'm using everything but the bagel seasoning today. So before these ones get the chance to really dry, I'm just going to take it, plop it into our seasonings here, and then there we go. And then this is what they look like when they are seasoned but not baked. At this point, the bagels are pretty much the size that they're going to be after they're baked, and so you can put them closer together on the baking sheet and they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to stick together or anything. The poppy seeds tend to sink to the bottom of the bowl, so these ones have more poppy seeds, but this is what they look like before they go in. And then they're going to bake at 425 degrees for anywhere between 20 to 25 minutes. I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes so that I can look at them. I don't want them to be too brown, but they are going to get a nice golden brown on the top. So I did decide to let these go for a few extra minutes, and we're nearing the end of the cook time right now. And the recipe in the book says to flip them in the last minute or so to help cook the bottom. Ooh. Might really not be necessary on stone bakeware. As you can see, I've got a nice toasty bottom. I think mine are good, but just note that if you don't have stoneware, you may want to flip them just to make sure that the bottoms get browned. Perfect this is. I wanted to say that it's exactly like what you would buy at the store, but it's not. I guess unless you're going to a bakery and buying them fresh. There's just something different and special about bread that has been baked that day. It is so good. It's not the same the second day. Although with something like bagels, you can bring it back to life pretty well by toasting it. Super good. But yeah, not that hard. Quite simple. Delicious. I made some cream cheese. This is actually Chev. We have replaced our cream cheese with Chev. I have a video on this and I'll link it at the end. You can make Chev with cow's milk if you want to, even cow's milk from the store. The key to making it taste most like cream cheese is to add a tiny bit of sugar. So I have dill in here and I put a little bit of salt in, and it tastes very good. Not exactly like cream cheese, but the sugar really does take it to that next level. And there we have it. This is actually our lunch plan. I know bagels are very frequently eaten for breakfast, but if you've not tried a bagel sandwich like this before, I think you should. We've never had these bagels last more than a couple days, not because of them going bad, but because this is the first time I've actually made a double batch, and normally we eat that first batch the first day. But the book says that this will last in a plastic bag at room temperature for up to 2 days, and that they freeze well, whole or sliced, covered in plastic wrap and a layer of foil for up to 3 months. As always, if you get a chance to try this, let me know what you thought of it. And if you're interested in making the chev, which is very versatile, we use it as cream cheese, we use it as ricotta cheese, and I actually use it as part of our ice cream base, and it's really, really good. I'll link that up here, as well as the bread that I make a couple times a week. I'll see you guys again soon.